Hey guys, Adam here with CrossFit Closer with Conversations with Coach. Today we're talking about a concept, something that we use all the time, but that we're not always cognizant of. We use it in our regular lives, we use it in the gym. Super important to kind of understand and make sure that we're doing it when we move. The concept we're going to be talking about today is hip flexion. I'm sure we've all heard the saying, hey, I want you to bend from the waist as opposed to bend from the back. I like the basis of that, but the wording kind of messes with me. I want to think bend at the hip, not at the waist. In my understanding, the waist is this guy here, and the hip is there. So what I want to think is when I move, I want to bend at the hips, because it's the biggest, strongest, most stable joint in the body, most durable joint. The waist basically is made up of a bunch of small little vertebrae, a bunch of tiny little joints that don't support load super well when they're out of position. I've drawn a little diagram on the board here to help us understand this concept. So I'll just clarify what's going on here so that we all understand. So if we look at that, this is a person here. We got a foot, a lower leg, a knee, an upper leg. That right there is the pelvis. So this section here where our leg inserts and the torso kind of sits on. And then at the top, that S curve is our spine. So what I want to understand is during movement, as much as I can, I don't want to be bending at all through the spine. I don't want to disconnect the spine from the hip. So in essence, we want to create one piece, see that box, that encompasses everything from the shoulder to the bottom of the hip where the leg inserts. So when we move, we want to move through hip flexion as opposed to torso flexion. One more thing to understand is what is flexion? So we define flexion as the closing of the angle at a joint. So we would call this flexion at the elbow. The opposite is extension where the joint opens up. So at the hip, right here, what I'm creating there is hip flexion. I've taken the angle of the hip, which in this case is 180 degrees or a straight line, and we've changed it to, let's say, 135 degrees, that angle right there. Doesn't need to be exactly that, not percent, degrees. Right, so what's happening here is that whole piece as one is bending. What we want that movement to look like is this. That's what we call hip flexion as opposed to torso flexion. And what does this mean in everyday lives? Is that when I go pick things up from the floor, be they groceries, children, odd objects of any sort, I want to make sure that the spine is locked up and it's maintained in that S curve and that all the movement is happening about the hip. Imagine there's a rod stuck through my hip joint, a stick, and that's where my hinge happens, and that's where it only happens. So if you're at home and you don't have a coach to teach you how to do this, or someone to watch you and make sure that you're doing it properly, what you can do is you can practice on your own. All you're gonna need is a broomstick or a PVC stick, anything that's long and straight, and that's it. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take that stick and I'm gonna put it against my back. When it's on my back and I'm standing tall and I have that natural S curvature, I should have contact on my butt and on my upper back between my shoulder blades. The exercise is I'm going to hip flex as far as I can while maintaining those 2 points of contact. And I'm gonna stand back up. I'm gonna repeat until that's comfortable. If, as I bend, I lose contact with the butt or I lose contact with the shoulders, I've lost my natural curvature. And now I'm no longer flexing at the hip, I'm now flexing at the spine. So I'm going to push my butt out, pull my chest up, and now I've recreated contact with the stick, and I can go back about practicing it there, maintaining contact with the hips and with the upper back. Grab your stick, start practicing. See you next time.